Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Dell XPS 15. So this is a good one actually. I love the XPS lineup, and so this year we're seeing redesigns across the board. Now, started with the 13 that was at CES, and what they did was they chopped out that bottom bezel, and now it's like all screen. But so that design came to the XPS 15 now too. That's the big thing. It's a 16 by 10 display now. It's awesome. But also the chassis has been redesigned as well. It's going to be flatter. I have two XPS 15 models in front of me here. This is the XPS 15 2-in-1, which is kind of rare because they only made one generation. But the reason that I have it out, I'm going to have to send this back. I have last year's XPS 15 here, and usually what I do is I keep it for one generation until the new one comes out. So now it's going to be time to send this back. But this one has USB Type-A, SD, a battery life indicator. I don't think that's on the new one. Another USB Type-A, HDMI, USB Type-C. Now, on the 2-in-1, it just has 4 USB Type-C ports. 2 of them are Thunderbolt. It has micro SD, a headphone jack, and that's it. So, interestingly, and this is what I love about this. This is going to come with a USB Type-C charger. It's the first XPS 15 to ship with a USB Type-C charger. The 2-in-1 shipped with a USB Type-C charger because it didn't have that barrel charging port, which every other XPS 15 has had. Now, there's a reason for that, and I've asked Dell about this because they've made, I think, 2 XPS 15s since the 2-in-1 came out, and they just said, well, we haven't redesigned it yet. So they were just using the same chassis over and over, which is common. They were just using the same chassis over and over, still had the barrel charging port, still shipped with the barrel charger, which was, I wanted USB Type-C. It is, however, a proprietary USB Type-C charger because it's 130 watts. So that means that if you use your own USB Type-C charger, you won't get one that's as fast because power delivery does not support, I believe it's over 100 watts. I just wanted to have those 2 units out because we can see that things really have changed. The ports changed, the chassis changed. That's similar to the 2-in-1, and then also, this is an interesting box, but also the screen has changed. That's not similar to either of them because those are both 16 by 9. There's nothing else in the box. By the way, this box is a little beat up. I'm sure somebody reviewed this unit before I did. They announced this about 2 months ago, and so here we have it. There is the XPS 15. If I could just get it out. Okay, so you could already see it's thinner, it's lighter. It doesn't have black sides, which I feel makes it look a lot nicer. Let's take a look at the charger because I'm so excited for this. What is this? This is HDMI, USB Type-A. Oh, so this is sort of like a mini dock, which is kind of interesting. Like if we pull this out, there's a little USB Type-C thing right here. And so that'll just plug into one of the, because remember, there's no USB Type-A anymore. And then this has HDMI and USB Type-A on it. So that's a nice little dongle to include, a little adapter there. Here's our 130 watt charger. Again, USB Type-C. Awesome. I'm excited about that. And then there's just a power cable here. I don't know if this model supports touch. They did tell me some of the specs of the unit that they're sending me. It's got a Core i7 in it. It is 4K. I always prefer the 4K XPS 15 because, it's the most powerful. It used to be the most powerful XPS because now there's an XPS 17, remember. This is the first XPS 15 redesign in 5 years, but the XPS 17, there hasn't been an XPS 17 at all in like 10 years. So, so there's some cool stuff there. There's some scuff marks on the top. No visible scratches. Now they actually just announced a white model where it's called Frost. The color on the outside is called Frost, and then it's got the white woven glass interior, and that's pretty interesting because they've never had different colors for the XPS 15 before. It's always just been the black interior, the silverish gray exterior, and it's the third XPS 13 that's actually had different colors like that. So that's pretty cool. But obviously, that's not coming till this summer. That's why this is the unit that I have, and pretty nice. Let's take a closer look. Starting with the keyboard here, you notice there's speakers next to the keyboard, so that's that's one thing that's new. This is a regular standard keyboard. They're not using maglev like they did with they did it with the 15 2-in-1. They did it with the XPS 13 2-in-1. The new 13 2-in-1 has a second gen maglev keyboard, and I gotta say, I hated it on the 15. If we go, and I could just put this out here for a second. Now, you see this thing's been around a while, but you can see the keyboard here is very, very shallow, and it feels that way when you try to type on it. I didn't like it, so I'm glad they stuck to a regular keyboard on the new XPS 15. You can see that there's more depth to the keys, and it's quite nice. I really like that they added speakers as well, and you notice again, if you look at older models, they just weren't using that screen real estate. It's not like they shrunk down the keyboard or anything. If we just look, they just weren't. I mean, the deck real estate, I should say. So that they just got rid of that. The power button has been moved. This is now on the keyboard, and that was something that was a circular power button. Again, if we just look, there it is. They put everything on the keyboard now. That's going to double as a fingerprint reader, as it always has, even when it was included over here. The trackpad, this trackpad is almost comically large. I gotta say, I do love large trackpads, but again, you can look at how small this last one was compared to the new one. I love large trackpads because why not? Why not have a massive trackpad? Because really, you have all this real estate on the deck. So why not just fill it up with trackpad goodness? So that pleases me. I'm really excited to review this unit. Is it a touchscreen? It is a touchscreen. But I'm really excited to review this unit because, one, I've always loved the XPS 15. I've always felt like it was that perfect balance between performance and portability. It does weigh 4.5 pounds. It doesn't quite feel like it. It feels lighter. It's definitely thinner. Okay, so we got two USB Type-C ports over here, and we have that metal finish that gives it a much nicer look, in my opinion, than it did on the last one. These ports are unidentified. Let's see what we have over here. Another unidentified USB Type-C port, a full-size SD card slot, and then a 3.5mm audio jack. And then, of course, we have that Dell lid, that Dell logo stamped in the lid. By the way, those ports are there's two Thunderbolt 3 ports and one USB Type-C port, which obviously the two Thunderbolt 3 ports are the ones where there's two on a side, and then the other side is USB 3.1 Gen 1. Well, it just says USB 3.1, so I'm not going to assume Gen 1. But that I don't love it when ports aren't labeled because for an end user, you just see, for most users, you just see USB Type-C port. You don't necessarily see that it's one is better than the other, and I don't know. That's just my thing. I prefer ports to be labeled for what they are. 16 by 10 display. This thing is big, and I quite like it. This is a big display, and it's a pretty display. One issue, there is no OLED option this year, and the reason for that is actually pretty simple. And OLED they added OLED last year, but when you make a PC, you need a supplier. And there aren't any suppliers making 16 by 10 4K OLED displays yet. So if that happens, you'll probably see it in next year's model, and you'll also see it in a ton of other PCs that will come out after that happens. We also have obviously a webcam on top. That is something that Dell finally did after a while of actually including it below the display. But now obviously we don't even have enough bezel space down there to do it. But yeah, there's an IR camera up there as well, or at least there should be, and if there isn't, there's an option for it. This machine does have a Core i7-10875H CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, which is impressive. And then, of course, it's got a dedicated graphics. This is a 1650 Ti with 4 gigabytes of GDDR6. So it is, by the way, this is much more powerful than a 13.5 inch Surface Book 3, because that one uses 1650 with GDDR5. Now, the CPU is octa-core, 16 threads. It's not the i9 model. You can get it with an i9 if you want it. But yeah, I've got the Core i7 here. It's crazy. Like it's only been a couple generations since i7 was the best, and now you look at i7, it's like, but it's not an i9. You know, if you want to go all in on power, you can. I think like an octa-core i7 is phenomenal, and it's 45 watts, as all H series CPUs are. So you got a lot of power here. It's thinner. I think it's lighter because it definitely feels lighter. But yeah, this is an awesome machine. I'm excited. And let me talk to you about the screen, because this is a beautiful screen. And when I reviewed, yeah, I'm bummed that it doesn't have OLED, because I love OLED everything, you know. But a couple things. When I reviewed the XPS 15 last year, they sent me the OLED model. I wanted the OLED model. I love OLED everything. But when I reviewed it, I did point out that it's not as much of an advantage as it is with other devices, because Dell's LCDs are so good that replacing it with OLED, like OLED typically, OLED you get true blacks because some pixels can be turned off, or with LCD it's entirely backlit, so they tend to look more washed out. But the LCDs are so good that you get that almost true black. And the other thing with OLED is that since you're rendering colors on top of true black, you get more vibrant colors. And like these colors are really vibrant, so you don't get as much of a difference switching to OLED on a Dell Infinity Edge display, because those displays are already so good. It's 16 by 10, like I said. I don't always love 16 by 10 displays. If you follow me, then you know that. Especially when they're smaller, and that's why I feel like this is going to be the sweet spot. Another reason that I'm excited about this machine, I also love this huge trackpad. That's awesome. But like for instance, talking about Surface again, that 13.5 inch Surface Book 3, which is what I just reviewed, which is why it's on my mind, it's 3x2. I don't like it. I feel like at that size, the thing is, screens are measured diagonally, so a 13.5 inch 3x2 display is actually narrower than a 13.3 inch 16 by 9 display. So as you start to change the aspect ratio, things start getting taller, but they also start getting narrower, even if the size sounds the same. So the way that I work, I have two apps side by side a lot of the time. And so as they start getting narrower and taller, things just start looking compressed. So I do like a screen that's wider. That's why I always like 16 by 9, especially at that 13 inch size. But however, when you get to like a 15 inch size, it actually starts feeling really good, because rather than feeling compressed, it feels like you're actually just getting more space, which is always feels good when you're using a computer. I mean, that's why we have desktop PCs, right? Because a bigger screen feels better for work. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, powerful internals. 10th gen Comet Lake H processor, GTX 1650 Ti with GDDR6, 16 gigs of RAM, powerful internals, redesigned, thinner, I assume lighter, like bigger trackpad, beautiful display. I'm excited about this thing. This is going to be a cool review, and you know, it's like I always love the XPS 15, and now there's like something that's profoundly new about it. You know, usually when I review the XPS 15, it's just a spec bump, and last year was a spec bump and an OLED display. You know, which is great. I still love reviewing it because I love the PC, but now it's totally new. You know, so that's going to be exciting. I'll have a review on this in a few weeks, so stay tuned. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.